Hi, Dr. Karen Can here. Welcome to another edition of the Spiritual Medicine Digest for the week of April 13th, 2020. Now, I have some good news for you. Two pieces of good news. One is that all of humanity are getting positive morphic fields, or what would I call positive downloads, of really high vibrational energies as a whole. Now, it's one thing to actually purposefully and consciously download and activate a positive morphic field for yourself, such as the positive morphic field of joy. You can actually download and activate that for yourself. It's a whole other thing to be able to do that for all of humanity in this timeline. So I'm super excited to share with you now it is possible. So these positive morphic fields have been downloading to all of humanity. One of the things that I do when I wake up in the morning, assuming I wake up on time, is that I go ahead and ask on behalf of all of humanity, is there a positive morphic field that can be downloaded today that is for my highest and greatest good to intervene or help out? And there is often. So we first started with the self-responsibility positive morphic field, and since then all sorts of positive morphic fields have been downloading multiple times a day, including other selves such as self-love, self-esteem, self-reliance, that kind of thing. Other positive morphic fields. In fact, I think I've lost count of what it is now. So that is a really positive thing. Now, whether or not you feel it in your body, I don't know. You'll have to let me know. The other positive thing that's happening is that I am getting permission to be able to delete or cancel or erase some negative morphic fields from all of humanity as well. Now, that's a little bit slower going, at least right now. It's not automated, so to speak. So whenever I get that intuitive hit, okay, now it's time, then something comes up that wants to heal, and then we can go ahead and erase and dissolve it. Sometimes it's negative emotions that no longer serve all of humanity. Now, it doesn't mean that people can't feel that emotion again, but I'm talking about all of humanity having that negative morphic field. Thoughts or beliefs seem to be wanting to be released now, so that's actually really exciting if we can release this grand, if you will, negative morphic field that all of humanity on some level resonates with. If we can pull that, that's really powerful. So that is a little slow going right now, but stay tuned because I may have more news for you next week. So the other piece of good news is that the chi, meaning the vital force in humans, is expanding and evolving. Now, you probably won't notice something massively happening in your body unless and if you're very highly sensitive, you might, if you happen to be a light being starseed. So if you are a light being starseed, meaning that you are a light being with no body in another timeline, incarnated into a human body in this timeline, it is possible that you might have felt it physically in your body this week. What does that feel like? Well, it kind of depends. For me, what I notice is when the energy or the chi, the vital force, expands and starts to evolve, that my meridians and channels sometimes get a little overwhelmed. How it turns out for me is that my governing vessel channel, which is the meridian that goes from kind of like the butt crack all the way up the back, top of the head, down here to here, it ends up being like so much energy is in it. Now it stops right here. And the other channel, the CV channels, conception vessel channel, stops right here. And there is something that connects the two. If you put your tongue, okay, I'm just showing you with my mouth open, but tongue on the roof of your mouth right behind your upper front teeth. When you do that, it connects the meridians. Now, part of the reason that I was having some trouble, I believe, is because I talk a lot. A necessity for my work as a teacher and seeing clients and so on and so forth. So my tongue is not often there, except when I'm not doing anything, or if I'm just typing or watching a movie or something like that and I'm not talking. So if you can put that there, what it'll do is help to circulate that energy well. So what happened to me was it got kind of like jammed up right about here. And then what happens to me is that my lip area gets super chapped. And it's funny because I'm not dehydrated, so it's not that kind of chapped, but it gets super flaky and thick and kind of sore a little bit, and it's like so much energy is like clogged up there. So when I figured it out after 2 days, what it was, that the chi, the energy, was recalibrating and evolving, then I could just check into how much mine was evolved, and in this case was able to just complete the evolution much quicker. So my lip is doing so much better today, and as it evolves I may have to check again. And the nice thing is that when I do it for myself, anyone else that is a light being, star, or seed also gets that healing if it's for their highest and greatest good. So hopefully you didn't suffer too much from, this overabundance of chi in your channels, and you were able to kind of process that and recalibrate that quickly. But it is good news because it's us evolving, the vital force evolving in our bodies. A lot of people have noticed through this coronavirus pandemic that if they've been taking care of their bodies and really noticing what's going on, that they actually haven't had to eat as much, which is, I guess, a good thing, I suppose, if we ever ended up with a zombie apocalypse or something, and you had difficulty getting food. If you were able to process energy in your field, able to generate the energy just from breathing, just from being, then you wouldn't have to necessarily eat as much to sustain your physical body. Sort of like how plants take the sun and the energy from the sun and convert it into what the plant needs to grow. Cool. So I believe that humans could do something similar, although we don't call it photosynthesis, where most of us aren't green. There's a different process there, but it is all energy after all. If we talk about it in quantum physics terms, it is all energy. Now, there are other people in the rest of the world that may be doing the opposite, that they're so bored, or they are trying to not feel the negative energy, fear, panic, terror of COVID-19 pandemic, that they are overeating. And I hope that is not you. I've been actually doing my daily bone broth, which is for me at this time very nutrient dense. That means I can do intermittent fasting much easier, which is a very wonderful anti-aging process. Now, of course, if you have some major illness, you should probably check in with your doctor, give him, her a call just to make sure it's safe for you. But for the most part, if you're not eating a whole bunch of bread or carbs like that, then when you do intermittent fasting, you're not going to spike your insulin, and you're not going to feel as hungry. Of course, I also have some supports like, LifeWave patches and things like that to help support my energy system so I can be super, super productive, and also, in my case, learn some CrossFit while I'm at home and not out and about as much. So I'm hoping that you are doing well at home with taking care of your body, drinking lots of water, maybe doing some bone broth, maybe trying intermittent fasting, and maybe noticing that there are some things that are a benefit for the shift that we've all are experiencing. Now, the one thing I did want to share with you, and it's a story, and you can take it for what it is, and maybe I'm not correct on this. However, I thought I'd share with you the nightmare that I had last night. And one of the reasons I'm sharing is because several of my highly sensitive soul students also had kind of interesting nightmares last night. And one of the things that's happened during the ascension process is that we expand our spiritual gifts, and that includes our spiritual awareness. So with our spiritual awarenesses expanding at night while we're sleeping, where we don't have conscious control or rebalancing very quickly, like we could during the day, I believe I was tapping into mass consciousness last night while I was sleeping. And we tested several people in class today, in our Divine Design training class today. That's what was going on with them as well, that all of our awarenesses were expanded and we needed to rebalance them. So when they're not balanced, that means we feel so much of the whole of everything and we're not as much in the now. And that, of course, when you're sleeping, you're probably more aware of the whole anyway and not so much present in the now as when you're conscious. However, there's still a balance point. So I was feeling more of the whole, others, than I was fully present when I was sleeping last night. So here is the dream. So there was a part of the dream where I found myself in a house. The house looked very modern, nice wood. It looked like a good looking house and not something familiar. However, I remember my parents were there, and it was almost like we were visiting a place. And even I think my brother and sister were there as well. And at some point, I'm, kind of like exploring, and I'm going up and down these interesting, beautiful wood stairs. And all of a sudden, I catch that something is going on in the stairs. And what it was that I saw these dolls about this big. They're stuffed dolls, but they were people. So to me, they were people, but they were stuffed dolls. And they were, not conscious. So it wasn't like they were walking around or anything like that. But to me, they were people, and they were being scooped up. They were being escalated up these stairs. And I started to get really alarmed in the dream. And in the dream, what happened was these people were scooped up in this machine thing, like the wall just came out, and these arms came down, and I could see these other people had already been trapped in this machine, and they were picking up these people as they were being escalated up one by one, and they were going to bring them up into the wall, and then there was no way I was going to reach them. The wall was so tall I couldn't even reach that high. So I started kind of freaking out in my dream. I don't have nightmares very often, but I really was super alarmed. And so I ran down the stairs, went to the kitchen, saw my brother in the kitchen. He was doing dishes, which is really funny because he doesn't really do dishes. Anyway, so so he's doing dishes, and I see another machine-looking thing, and I'm like, what is this stuff? And it was just, just looked like a bunch of dish racks, but it was some sort of machine, like it belonged to the house, like the house was alive. And I'm trying to yell, and when you're trying to yell in a dream, it doesn't work, right? So I'm trying to yell, and to get my brother's attention, like, hey, we need to do a rescue mission here, hey, and he wasn't paying attention to me. I look at the machine, and I'm trying to figure out what the machine's doing. I look back at my brother. Well, he's gone. He's disappeared. He was actually an illusion. It wasn't even him. And so here I feel completely alone in this house. And at this point, I wake up because my husband, in reality, is waking me up saying, "Are you okay, honey?" Because he could hear me kind of like sighing or whimpering or something in my dream. And so he woke me up out of this nightmare. So I asked later source, what does all this mean? Well, it was symbolic. So like I said, take it for what it is. Maybe it's not real, maybe it is, but this is what I got, is that the house represented the secret government. Now, what's a secret government? Well, I don't know too much about the secret government, but what I understand is that the non-secret government is the ones we know about, right? The ones that there's a president, prime minister, whatever, and they run the countries supposedly, right? There's supposed to be some sort of other government that is more powerful, if you will, that really controls what's going on in the world. So the house represented the secret government, and the stuffed animals represented mass consciousness or the people. And so what was happening was the people were kind of like, duh, and they were being taken out. Now, taken out doesn't necessarily mean killed in this case. They were being removed, as in they were ineffective. Okay, was what I was understanding. They was ineffective. And so here I was, and I was trying to alert, whoever could hear me, like, something's going on, we got to do something. And my brother was an illusion. So it was like some sort of thinking of that, sometimes I might be calling for help, and that family member is an illusion. So the inner workings of this house were very strange, and that I don't necessarily, in the dream, I did not have any control over the inner workings of the house. That somehow I was just alerting or trying to alert people that something funky was going on here. So that may be my role. So take it for what it is. If you happen to have a bad dream like Wednesday night, or something really interesting, please post. If you're on YouTube, post it below. And by the way, if you're on there, subscribe to my channel. So post it below and let me know if you had any interesting dreams this week. So, when I got up, I realized my awareness balance was off, and I was feeling too much of the whole, feeling too much of mass consciousness. And so there is a lot of stuff going on, and this is not necessarily if you'd get anxious about or anything like that, but it's more like curious, being curious about it. There's definitely a lot of articles out there including, win-lose articles, anti-pro, vaccine, anti-pro, Dr. Fauci here in the US and anti-pro Trump and, all this kind of stuff. And it's hard for the average person to sift through all that. But the most important thing is to be in that place of centered and peace within yourself, because whatever happens, your reality is based on where you pay your attention to. Even if you think like, how am I going to change reality? You can. That means quantum physics. So you can, and I've seen so many different miracles happen so many different times, and synchronicities and signs, and these are some of the things that you can look forward to when you're in that stillness and are able to be really, really you. So there are going to be some people who their role is rebellion, who their role is to be the whistleblowers, to fight, I don't fight in the physical sense. I don't think that's my role, although I am a warrior. Mine is more in the quantum realm. If you watch Doctor Strange, that's probably the closest superhero I actually really am, like. So, and maybe you're a superhero too. I'd like to know which one you are. Please post below if you feel like you're more like one superhero than another. I'd be excited to hear about that. So other things, what I want to share with you, a couple of announcements. Number one, on Monday's radio show, we are going to have Geraldine Villeneuve, and she has a really cool book called Putting Your Best Feet Forward. And I've been wanting to have Geraldine on the show for quite some time, and our schedules didn't match for probably over a year, but we finally have her on the show live, so it's going to be really neat. She's going to be sharing with us about structural reflexology. Now, your feet are very, very important, and I really did not understand the importance of feet until very recently. And her book's really interesting because there's certain things that I never really thought of until I saw those pieces in the book. And I want to thank my patient Cynthia for actually sharing this book with me. Things like why it's not a good idea to walk around in flip-flops, that why they are actually not healthy for you, why the shape of our foot is actually not supposed to be what it is right now as an adult. I mean, just really interesting things. So if you want to ask Geraldine some questions about your foot issues, come on to the show on Light Warrior Radio at 12 noon Eastern, and we'll post the link below this video or above, depending on where you're watching this video. And yeah, so get on the show live and you can get some advice from Geraldine if you would like to have that on Monday's show. The second announcement I have is very special. So on Thursday, so this is going to be the 23rd of April. I'm looking at my calendar. So Thursday the 23rd, I'm going to be relaunching my Autoimmune Healing Secrets for Sensitive Souls program, the Feel Fantastic Formula. So because so much of what's going on has to do with the immune system, that kind of thing, the Autoimmune Healing Secrets is a way in which we can keep tabs on your immune system. And one of the issues too that's coming up with the whole COVID-19 thing is if vaccines actually become mandatory, which I really pray they do not, then the risk is going to be high degrees of autoimmunity, and those that are highly sensitive are already experiencing monumentous amounts of autoimmunity to their environment. They have multiple chemical sensitivities, they have all sorts of swollen joints, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, thyroid issues, adrenal issues, all these kinds of things, which hit us harder because we're so highly sensitive to energy. So in this Autoimmune Healing Secrets program, we're going to show you how to release what isn't yours, how to do a clearing on all the different autoimmune issues. And yes, there's more than just physical autoimmunity. And so we're going to be doing a free interview on Thursday on From Heartache to Joy at 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you're not on their mailing list, you can get on their mailing list at FromHeartacheToJoy.com, or you can follow me on my mailing list, KarenCan.com. We'll give you that information. So Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, I'm going to be doing a self-hosted call, and we're going to be taking callers. So if you know anyone or you are suffering from anything autoimmune, allergies, intolerances, that kind of thing, let's do some healing and testing around that. And the group process we're going to be doing on Thursday is called the Cell Membrane Magic. I call it the Cell Membrane Magic. And what we're going to do is I'm going to share with you some of the healing technologies around how do we change the frequency and the, if you will, the electromagnetic attraction of the cell membranes so that COVID-19 and other viruses do not attach or cannot attach or are repelled. So that's going to be happening Thursday. Now, with my Divine Design training folks that we are training this week, we already did that healing for them. However, this is one small piece of the whole training, and we're going to be doing that Thursday live on that call. So you definitely want to be there if you want to rewire, reconfigure your cell membranes to minimize the possibility that any viruses, including COVID-19, can attach. It's amazing what you can do in the quantum physics realm. So again, that's Thursday on From Heartache to Joy. We're going to be talking about autoimmune healing secrets, the Feel Fantastic formula. I'm going to be doing a self-hosted call and are welcoming your questions. And we're going to do some mini readings, mini healings, and also sharing with you the cell membrane magic so you can rewire and reconfigure your cell membranes to be healthier and happier and be more impervious to pathogens. Yeah, cool. All right, so that's all for this week's Spiritual Medicine Digest. Thanks for listening in, and please comment below and feel free to share as well for people to share with people that are would be interested or like-minded folks. Until next time, bye for now. Lots of love.